and now also the knight supports an attack on h8, the h8 square being vulnerable. And still white reserves this possibility of rook b3 to either f3 or g3. So this is quite dangerous for black. Black played now Rybka's first choice, queen e8. Also there's this idea of knight e7, just picking up the exchange back if white wanted to do that. But white doesn't want to do that because these pawns are going to start marching after the simplification, and white will have no attacking compensation. White brings in more force to the attack here by playing what Rybka now considers to be the strongest move at depth 13. He plays f4. So getting this pawn to f5 and f6 is very dangerous for black. So now rook ca6 was played. Was that actually... Yes, it is recommended at depth 12 as the first candidate. Rook c to a6. So black's trying to use the doubling of rooks to exchange off white's rook. Now Jacobian has some attacking possibilities and also a prophylactic possibility of king h2 to avoid the rook being pinned, because he wants ideally maybe to play rook b3, but it seems fairly futile now with black rooks doubled like that, because then there'll be rook a3 as a potential defensive move. So how can white proceed? Well, Jacobian played at depth 14 what Rybka suggests is the second candidate. I'm using Rybka 2.2. Maybe this is the difference. Maybe Jacobian's got 2.3, the later version. But here, king h2 was played instead of f5, which apparently might be fractionally stronger. So king h2, and black continued now with the move d3, another good candidate. And now f5 is very tempting in Rybka's view, but actually Jacobian went in for queen h5. Now actually at depth 14 queen h5 becomes the top candidate. So Jacobian is playing the attack quite accurately, as you'd expect from a 2630 GM. He's going to make the most out of his queen and knight attacking pieces, but he really needs some help from his rook or pawns here. He is faced with this time bomb on the queen side if these pawns start getting closer. So it's going to reach a very tense position, hence why it became this draw thriller of a Brilliancy prize. So black played rook a1, and Jacobian accepted the trade of rooks now. So he took on a1, and now he played f5. So he's bringing his last remaining resources, which happen to be his pawns, to try and smash through the black king position or cause some other issues. So black took on f5, white took, and now d2. So this pawn is now imminently threatening to queen. How does Jacobian save the situation? He's reserving this dangerous looking check all the time, but now he finally plays it. And after king f7, he plays... What would you play here if I gave you 10 seconds to have a look at this from now? So starting from now. Okay, what he played was e6, and apparently queen h4, e6 were about the same. So e6 check, the king comes out, and now black is dropping the queen, but he's going to get this queen back with this promotion. So Jacobian, he takes the queen, d1 queening. So black is at the moment the exchange up, but his king is very precariously placed. He's going to have to start marching up the board. So Jacobian plays check, king takes. Now we see knight h4 check, and the king marches straight into the centre with king e4. So as we know, it's good to centralise pieces, but centralising the king when the queens are on, it's a bit less common. So white now has this choice. Does he want to retreat this knight off the edge of the board to the centre, or does he want to take on c5? Well, actually he chooses to take on c5, and now black throws in this check on h1. After king g3, plays queen e1 check, and decides after king h2 that he wants to just force a draw by perpetual. So Queen h1 was repeated, and King g3, Queen e1, and a draw was agreed. So it was exciting how the black king came out here. Was there anything better for black than this repetition? Well, we can rule out obviously bad moves like queen takes h4, check, and then win the queen. If queen e3, that's a decent candidate move. Check, and how can black, avoid these checks? If king d5 here, now apparently a couple moves will do to maintain equality according to Ribka, either e7 or knight g6. So say e7, so that kind of ties the black queen down to the e file. If check g3, and now if check here, the knight can come back to g2, and black doesn't have enough time to make use of that pin knight, because if say queen e2 here, then even stronger than queen b7, just simply defending g2 would be just check, and taking this on a2, this rook on a2, for this queen to queen, this pawn to queen rather. So black has to be very careful, and perhaps therefore he was wise to go for this perpetual here. If queen e3 is failing, queen h4 is failing. Is there anything else to look at? In fact, queen c3 supported by that pawn on b4 as another variation. Now here white actually has an advantage according to Ribka with queen f5 check. After king e3, check on f3, king d2, check on f4, king c2, and there's a point to this that the queen manoeuvres itself behind the pawn, I believe. So it's manoeuvred behind that dangerous e pawn, and now finally e7 here. So white's pawns were exceptionally dangerous in the game through the centre and attacking the king side, gaining a bit of tempo for their movement. So here, rook e1, and white can queen here in this variation, and again be like a knight up. After queen c7, g3, rook takes e4, queen takes e4. Apparently this is dead equal, this position, because check takes knight f3, and this long variation apparently is dead equal according to Ribka. So why is that? b2, knight c4, say. Now this is how to misplay it from black, because white will be winning that. But black doesn't have to commit anything like that. You can just repeat it here with king d3, asking knight where it's going. After knight b5, now play b2. After knight a3, various moves will draw. So say king c3, king b3. Now a repetition here, just to continue threatening the knight, is enough to secure a draw. So let's go back. So in this other position, so black just forced the draw with a perpetual check. Could white have gone to g4? If the king had gone to g4, black has a big advantage here, apparently, with queen e2 check. Because if either knight f3 or the two candidate moves, say knight f3, queen g2 is crushing, winning that knight on f3, and there's no loose pieces here for white to pick up. But say king g5, then check, and if king g4, check on f4, and now check on h6, taking e6 with a check, knight f5, queen g6 is picking up the knight now. So both players did well to accept this draw by repetition, not try and break out of it. So let's have a quick overview and summary of this game. So it seemed to be starting as another plain vanilla Tartakovsky system, but things really became quite exciting later with this isolated a pawn. Black manoeuvring his pieces to seemingly attack it and prepare the move b5, so generating a dangerous queenside initiative, but it was balanced out by white's kingside initiative, and the knight and queen coordinating very well. Ingeniously, white also started making use of the f-pawn after this ingenious exchange sack. Knight g6 now made the way for the f-pawn to be used for the attack, and white's reserving all the time the possibilities of queen h5 and queen h8. He doesn't mind the exchange of rooks and the apparent imminent queening of black's d-pawn, because he knew he was picking up black's queen. And here we have this situation where it's become critical for both sides, and they both need to repeat the position. Hope you enjoyed that. Please leave any comments on YouTube. Thanks very much.